Hello class, college algebra review for the final. Got 3 problems here. Find the distance between the points. -1 comma 6, 2 comma 9. If you want to, you can label this first point your x sub 1, y sub 1 and call your second point x sub 2, y sub 2. You don't have to do that though. And then you do have to know the formula, so make sure you got these formulas right at your side, so that way you don't have to waste time trying to look for different things, be organized. So here's the distance formula. It's the square root. D for distance equals the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. And I'm just going to fill in. So what am I going to write for x sub 2? For me, I'm going to write the second x coordinate, 2. X sub 2 is 2. But, again, the order doesn't really matter. Just, Okay, so I'm just going to write, in place of x sub 2, write 2. And then minus x sub 1. Our first x coordinate is a -1. So minus a -1. What does minus a negative mean? It really means plus. So I'm just going to save time and write +1 all squared. Don't forget to bring down the square. So minus a -1 becomes +1 all squared. Plus, and then y sub 2 minus y sub 1. So I'm going to write 9 minus 6, and that's going to get squared. 9 minus 6 all squared. And then we just keep on simplifying. Bring down the equal sign, and that's going to equal 2 plus 1 is 3. And when I square it, I get 9 plus 9 minus 6 is also 3. And when I square it, I get 9. And then by order of operations, you must add what's in the square root. And then you take the square root. Don't go square root of this plus square root of that. That's illegal. So it's not going to be 3 plus 3 is 6, square root of 6 or whatever. That's not going to work. So you have to do the work inside the square root. 9 plus 9 is 18. And then finally you want to say, can you simplify the square root of 18? Do you know a perfect square that goes into 18? 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. When you get to half the number, you can stop. So 9 is half of 18, so 9 is a perfect square. So let's keep on going. I'm going to continue over here. Rewrite 18 as 9 times 2. But then this 9 is a perfect square. It comes out of the square root. What is the square root of 9? 3. And that gets multiplied by the square root of 2. Done. There's our final answer for the first question. 3 times the square root of 2. Okay, next question is a midpoint formula. Find the midpoint of the line segment whose endpoints are given by those ordered pairs. Again, if you want, you can call the first ordered pair your x sub 1, y sub 1, comma, and then x sub 2, y sub 2. You don't have to do that. Okay, so here's the midpoint formula. Make sure you know this. It's going to be x sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2, comma, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. So let's add up the x's. It's the average of the x's because we're adding 2 numbers and dividing by 2. So really the midpoint is just the average of the x's, comma, the average of the y's. So the midpoint is a point. See the word point and midpoint? So the answer is going to be an ordered pair. Whereas with distance, the answer is going to be a number. The number of units away that the 2 points are. Okay, so x sub 1 is 2/3, x sub 2 is 4/3. So let me do some scratch work here. What is 2/3 plus 4/3? Well, I got the common denominator of 3, so I can write it as a single fraction with that common denominator. And then you add the numerators. 2 plus 4 is 6. But what's 6 divided by 3? 2. So that is what x sub 1 plus x sub 2 is. It's just going to be 2. And then don't forget to write over 2. So when I add the x's and simplify, I get 2, and then the formula says all over 2. And now let's add the y's and put it over 2. So the y coordinates, what is 4 plus a -6? It's a -2. And then over 2. And then you want to simplify. Don't stop there. What is any number divided by itself? 1. And here again, 2 over 2 is 1, but a negative over a positive, is negative. So I'm going to write -1 for the y-coordinate. And that's it. We are done with that problem. We found the midpoint. Okay, and then my final question. Find the center, radius, and x-intercepts for the circle whose equation is given by x minus 2 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 65. So this is a circle in standard form. Remember, standard form is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So the center is your hk. After the minus sign is your h. After the minus sign is 2. Or the other way of thinking about it is you do the opposite signs. If you see a -2, then you're going to write 2. If you see a +4, then you're going to write a -4. So there's the center, 2, -4. That is the center of our circle. The signs change to find the center. If r squared is 65, then the radius is the square root of 65. And this cannot be simplified because the only factors of 65 are 13 and 5, and neither one of them are perfect squares. So we're done with that. And now I just want to find the x-intercept. We don't have to find the y-intercept for this problem, just the x-intercept. So how do I find the x-intercept? By letting y equal 0. So let's write x minus 2 all squared plus, when y is 0, what is 0 plus 4? Is just 4. And that gets squared equals 65. So to find the x-intercept, you just let y equal 0, and then you simplify. And again, I want to find x. The x-intercept is going to be some x value. Okay, so this is 16, 4 squared, so I'm going to subtract 16 to each side of the equal sign to get this equivalent equation. X minus 2 squared equals 65 minus 16 is 49. See, these drop out. And I could FOIL this out. X minus 2 times x minus 2, subtract 49 to each side, get 0, and then factor. But I'm going to do it the quick way, the square root method. Just take the square root of each side. The square root of something squared is going to be that something. So when I take the square root of each side, I just get x minus 2 because the square root undoes the square. And that's going to equal, the square root of 49 is 7. But I intentionally made a mistake here. Do you know what that mistake I did? I hope you do. You must go plus or minus the square root. So whenever you have this situation, you're going to go x minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 49. So you must have plus or minus there. Okay, solving for x, I'm going to add 2 to each side. When I add 2 to each side, and by convention we put the number in front of the plus minus, I get 2 plus or minus 7. And then don't stop there because we can simplify. Let's do the plus first. What is 2 plus 7? 9. So x equals 9. And my other x-intercept is going to be when I look at the minus. 2 minus 7 is a -5. So these are my x-intercepts. If you want to write them as ordered pairs, depending on what the directions say, x is 9, y is always 0 for x-intercepts, x is -5, y is always 0. So done with that sheet. Okay, so hopefully that looks good to you, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.